Yo, 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 testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yo, yo, yo. Let's ensure the audio and visual is coming in clear. If you guys are here on the video, let me know that the audio and visual is coming in clear. I'm going to do my own check real quick, and then we're going to bring our guest up. We have a very important topic today. We're going to be talking about, Burkina Faso. All right. So before we get into this, I'm going to have some of you guys call in and ask your questions as well. But before we get into this, I want to ensure the audio and visual is clear. This is very important, guys. We're doing a very important live stream today. We have a guest that's coming in, and he's going to give us a lot of much needed information on Burkina Faso. Okay. So I want you guys to, come in with opening ears, come in with, being ready to accept some knowledge, and then we're going to go from there. Okay. If you're watching this on the replay, like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you all for being here. Let's ensure the audio and visuals coming in clear, and then we'll proceed. Yo, 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 testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yo, yo, yo. It looks like on my end, the audio and visuals coming in very clear. Thanks to everybody that's here right now. We're going to have our guests come in and speak to us on Burkina Faso. And then we're going to do some calls. Okay. We're going to have some of you guys call in and ask your questions. I thought this live stream would be very important because we have a lot of people that are looking to travel to Burkina Faso, yet they don't know much about Burkina Faso. They don't know about the religion. They don't really know about the women, and they don't really know a lot about, Burkina Faso. So today we're here to talk about it. So everyone, please welcome the guest, Huey. Hello, Huey. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining. Now we already did a exclusive, basically, where you gave me some in-depth details, on Burkina Faso. So I really do appreciate that. That's going to be on Patreon for everybody that's looking for it. That's an exclusive. We talked about Huey actually meeting up with the president. And did you meet up with the president today, or?
Yes, it was today.
Wow. So you met up with Ibrahim Traore, huh?
That's correct.
That's amazing. And we talked about that in real detail. We also talked about, the women as well inside of Burkina Faso. Definitely some good information on that as well. And yeah, man, I'm happy we got to have that dialogue. Now let me put you up on the screen here so we can really, really get into it. And before I start, this was a very long day for me, very busy day. But I just wanted to do this live stream because I knew this would be very important, given that, Burkina Faso is a revolutionist country. It's in that stage right now where it's, we either do what we do now so that our country can succeed forever, or we don't do what needs to be done now and we fall victim of the oppressor. So it's a very crucial time right now that Burkina Faso has awakened. And I thought this interview would be very important. So this was a long day, but I stopped everything I was doing to do this interview for you guys. So please like the video on your way in. And I want to show appreciation to Huey for being here to give his knowledge because, a lot of people, they talk about Africa. They have issues with Africa. They have complaints about Africa, but not many are in the grounds of Africa. Not many are there in the dirt, putting in the work, So shout out to Huey, which is our guest of the day. So, guys, this will be a call-in show. We'll be able to, you'll be able to talk with Huey as well if you have any questions as we go along. So, let's begin. Huey, how are you?
I'm doing super fantastic.
Okay. I know that intro was long-winded, but man, I just had to get all that out so everybody knows we did some audio and visual checks too. So, real quick, you have an accent, so can you please let us know where you're from?
London, England.
London, England. Okay. And you've been traveling around the world, I'm guessing, for how many years now?
Well, I I've been running a travel company from from 2006 up until present.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And feel free at any time to share any information that you would like to give out. I won't share any information unless you say to. So if you have any information that you want to promote, just feel free to say it. When the time is right, and you know, we'll make sure we put that on screen as well for you. But or in the description. So did you want to go with anything for right now?
Yeah, just keep it flowing. When I'm ready, I'll
Okay.
let you know.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so you're from the UK. Are you African European?
No, I'm not. Um, I'm African out of Jamaica.
Ah, okay. All right, all right. Cool. And so now you're living in the UK though, right?
I was born in the UK.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And
I've got dual citizenship
oh, okay, okay. That
by choice.
okay, that makes things way more clear too. So um what would you say that you represent? Are you an African diasporan, or are you more of the part of the FBA community? I guess not FBA, right? Because that's foundational Black Americans. So would you say that you're more of like, a Black Hebrew, or like what representation do you, give to people when you're moving around globally?
I'm just clear. I'm an African.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. And I like that you say African too, man. I feel like not that many people from maybe the Caribbean, they'll actually identify as African. I feel like a lot of them will identify maybe as more Caribbean. Have you seen that, or do you see like a lot of
Yeah,
them?
well, they generally would refer to us, or people that come from that background would refer to themselves as Afro-Caribbean. But as a Pan-Africanist, I'm very clear. So I know that I'm an African out of Jamaica. So that you can't define it better than that.
Right, right. That's really good to know too, because I remember one time I called a Jamaican African, and I definitely learned my lesson, man. He said, "I'm not African, I'm Jamaican." I was like, okay, my bad, man, my bad. Okay. It really affected me. He's like, "I'm a Caribbean. I'm not African. I'm not African. I'm a Caribbean." Like, I was like, okay, okay, cool. Gotcha, gotcha. So that's cool to hear though. At least you're identifying with, your African heritage. Um, Let me ask you this. Why did you choose to start traveling?
I believe traveling, you're able to widen your horizon, understanding other cultures, identities, history, etc. And I've always wanted to visit Africa and different places in Africa. So yeah, definitely something I've always been keen on doing.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. And let me ask you this as well. Which countries have you been to inside of Africa so far?
Okay, so I've been to Gambia, Senegal, Ghana, Burkina Faso, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Libya, and Egypt.
That's dope, man. We actually just had somebody that went to Egypt recently, and he gave us some really good information on Egypt. Would you say you had a good experience in Egypt? I know some people, they say it's you know annoying sometimes how there's like a lot of tourist traps. So did you have a good time? Besides that.
I specifically went to Egypt to attend a AU summit, So that's where the all of the African heads of state meet twice a year. They have one meeting in Addis Ababa, and then it rotates to a different African country. So I was really there on AU business, so I didn't really get a lot of time to. I've been there twice, and I got a couple of days to see a few things, but yeah, it was okay to me. I probably need to study it more detail or get someone that's a guide to take me around properly. But I haven't done that as yet.
Okay. Hey, it sounds like you're really big on, the African diaspora kind of life. I mean, what got you into this? I mean, of course we can just say, I woke up and my skin was black, but, besides that, what really got you into this? Because a lot of people decide to, see their skin and say, you know what, I'll just live, my life inside of my Western country and just call it a day. I don't want to be a part of the African diaspora. I don't want to unify with other Africans. What made you so passionate about something like this?
I, I was trained by Dr. Khalid Mohammed, so he was the reason why I started visiting Africa.
Mm, okay, that's good to know. And what are some things that you've maybe picked up from him over the years?
Well, well, to be unapologetically African, number one, and to always have that black mindset and get rid of the Eurocentric mindset.
Mm, I hear that, brother. I do. Now we're about to get into Burkina Faso, right? And I want to explain the thumbnail because this is definitely going to be a good interview for a lot of the audience. The reason this thumbnail's here is because as we go on, you know, I want to see if Burkina Faso actually would be worth investing in for the FBA. This doesn't mean that Ibrahim Chori is against FBA or foundational Black Americans or against other Black people, Black Americans, etc., Black Europeans. This just means that, you know, I want to, gain the information because the reason I have the FBA and crossed out is because there was a rumor that is spread. And as we know, a lot of rumors are what they are, rumors. So a lot of times it's not true. But there was rumors going around saying that Ibrahim Traore did not want any Black Americans inside of his country. So we're going to get to that, as well, because like you said today, you guys actually met with the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. So we'll get to that eventually. But the goal of this is really just to see if Burkina Faso would be worth investing in for Black Americans. Because there is a lot of money in the Black American community, and we notice a lot of countries they seem to seek out Black Americans help at certain points in time. And a lot of times there's no uh, um, money. There's no gain for the Black American. There's no signs of appreciation. This is how a lot of FBAs feel. So I want to see if maybe this will be something different. Maybe this will be something worth it, and the path and the mission. At the end of all this, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So let's start off with this one. Start me at day one. Right when you got into Burkina Faso, what did you do? How was the flight? I mean, can you give us that?
Yeah, for me, it was about a 9 hour flight. I flew with a company called Air Morocco, and it came in smoothly. Got through, showed him my paperwork, um, and got my taxi straight to my hotel and rested up.
Nice. And you said you got food. What food did you get to eat? Something good, I'm hoping.
I didn't mention food.
Oh, I thought you said I got food. I had my flight and then I got food.
No, I said I flew with Air Morocco.
Oh, I thought you mentioned something about getting food. Okay, so let's know that anyways, though. What food did you eat on the first day upon arrival?
Um, I went down to a restaurant and I bought a burger, bought a cheeseburger and fries.
And how was it from 1 to 10? What would you give it?
Yeah, 8.
An 8. Okay, so they know how to throw down in Burkina. Okay, so that's one
Definitely.
piece of good news for the Americans. Americans definitely love their burgers and fries. So, or like they say, and I think UK they say burgers and chips, right?
That's right. Hmm.
So, okay, that's some good news right there. That's some good news. At least we know it'll be a slow transition. You don't have to just start eating fufu upon arrival. Not that fufu is disgusting, but I've had fufu before. I wasn't a fan, so it's not
Okay.
like you have to eat it on arrival. So it's good to know. Good to know that they have some American food so you can ease into their traditional cultures and foods and stuff like that. Shout out to the Nigerians and other people who use paste type foods and stuff. So anyways, so now how many days have you been inside of Burkina Faso?
14.
40 days. Wow. 40
14. 14. 14.
14. 14. Okay, 2 weeks. Wow. Okay, that's still a very long time. Now, can you explain like, what basically went down in week one?
Week week one was just a series of talks, roundtable discussions. Um, I also was doing some personal research into different places within Burkina Faso also. So yeah, so that's what happened in week one, and visiting some historic places.
Okay, and what type of historic places did you visit?
The Sankara um, monument, the heroes um, place. Um, I think yesterday or today was the National Museum. Um, yeah, those were the ones that come to mind.
Okay, that's cool, man. And I'm happy they have these museums. Did you see any YT people at the museum? Not that it's an issue. I'm just curious.
Did what? Sorry.
Did you see any Caucasians at the museum?
Oh, I didn't go inside. I stayed outside.
Okay. How many Caucasians have you seen in Burkina Faso so far? Not that it's a problem. I'm just curious.
Probably about 25.
Okay. Oh, you counted.
I didn't count. I'm just giving you a rough
Oh, okay,
estimate.
okay, okay. I'm
Because
like,
I was at a restaurant one time,
mhm.
and 8 white people walked in,
Mm,
and I was at another place, and four of them was together. So I'm just saying over the 2 weeks, 12 plus 12, 24, 25 I've seen.
mm. Okay, okay. And are they American or are they from Europe or what was their accent if you heard any
The ones I ran into, they were predominantly Europeans.
Europeans? Okay, interesting, interesting. And were they there maybe on a mission? It's because Burkina Faso is not exactly like a nice tourist place for a lot of people at this current state and time. So I'm just curious as to why some other races may find Burkina Faso appealing.
Well, I was curious too, so I went up and asked him, "What's he doing here?" And he actually happened to be working for United Nations. So I think he was one of the programs within the agencies that work with poorer countries. So he was one of those workers, and his colleagues. He actually came from Italy himself, but he said he's working for the World Food Program in Burkina Faso.
Hmm, interesting. Okay, well, I'll leave that one at that right there. Now, let me ask you this: how are Black Americans or Black Europeans viewed in Burkina Faso? Are you getting like a feeling where, people are, extremely money hungry? This is sometimes how it is when you're from the West. You might run into certain people, not all, but you'll run into certain people that, will hear your accent and say, oh, he just said governor. He just said chips. He's definitely got some money on him. So come on, man, give me some money. Give some money. You got money? You know what I'm saying? So are you getting that kind of vibe from the Burkinas? How do you say the names? Is it Burkinos?
Um, but they normally term it Burkinabis. Burkina,
Burkinabis. That's what it
yeah.
was. Burkinabis. Yeah. Are you getting that vibe from the Burkinabis?
I'm not getting that vibe at all. I think they're very honored to know that the African Americans are coming home.
Wow. That is
Yes,
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. I saw a lot of love shown by the people from Burkina Faso. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah, different. It's a different setup, I would say. Um, but I didn't see that. I didn't notice that at all.
Mm. Well, I'm happy to hear that, man. I'm happy to hear that most definitely. Does it feel genuine when the Africans say they welcome you back? I mean, are they doing any weird things? Because sometimes it's, you'll run into African people, they're happy to have you back, but they'll say that verbally, but physically they won't show it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, on the Patreon, link in the description for everybody that's listening. We did an exclusive, and you had mentioned about a driver, that it seemed like he was almost playing around, with when it comes to, how much money you owed him, and they do that in a lot of countries and stuff. So I'm just curious, like, maybe that was just one guy for today, but have you ran into any other issues like that inside of Burkina Faso?
Well, the thing about it is, I noticed that taxi drivers do that in every single country I go to. So it's not a one country situation. It's done it's done all over. Um, Here it's done in the West. So it's nothing new to me when it happens, because you're not immune from it. If they have an opportunity where they can make an extra buck, of course they're going to make that extra buck. But just have to be mindful. That's all. I'll be mindful anywhere I go in the world.
Right, right. I hear what you're saying. Because, sometimes you'll have certain people or certain ethnicities where, let me say it more like this. You have, for instance, you know, people of a, Islamic background, right? And when
Mm.
they see somebody come in with maybe a hijab or something like that, there's a very low chance that they're going to try to gyp that person or do them wrong. This is at least what I've heard from a lot of, people that are in these faiths. And, I believe that's because those people see them as their actual people. So that's why I was curious, because sometimes, in Africa, even though we're, African American or African European, Afro Caribbean, they'll still kind of look at you and say, you're not really my people, so you can still give me some money. But if it's somebody that's Burkinabe, they'll be like, nah, 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 it's cool. No, we'll give you the regular price.
Yeah. It's half a dozen, six of the other. You know, it will happen in certain cases, and in other cases it won't happen. But yeah, I won't limit it to one country at all. It's
Mm.
a it's a
No,
regular thing. goes
Definitely
on.
happens all around the world. Definitely. Uh,
Yeah.
for me, in my experience at least, I've seen it less in Western countries because, everything's so card. We do not take cash in Western countries. Y'all ain't about to play us like I play them Africans and sometimes don't want to give them the full cash and stuff. Western countries, they be like, you got to put your card in the file, a backup card. Actually, matter of fact, put your mama card on file. Actually, that's not enough. Put your great granddad's will inside of that, yeah, as well. You have some leverage if you cancel this ride. They gonna get their money. So I like that you said that though. I definitely like that you said that. It's a lot of countries that do this. Whether you're in the regions of Asia or you're in the regions of South America. There's a lot of places that will have these things. Um, so let's kind of move it along to week two. So week two, this is leading up to your meeting with Ibrahim Chori. Why exactly was he willing to do a meeting with you guys? I mean, can you just explain this whole thing? Like, because I'm sure he's not just meeting up with everybody, right? So can you just explain like what led up to this and how did you guys prepare for? Did you guys meet with him today or how?
Yeah, like I said to you before earlier,
Mhm.
he met with us today, and he met with everyone that came from overseas for um, to join on in regards to the permanent residency program under the leadership of the ADDI. So that's the reason for the meeting today.
Okay. Okay. And like what led up to this? I mean, uh was there is because you guys are moving as a is there, maybe you don't have to share your title, but what exactly is your group considered to be, like a African diasporan movement, or what are they? And to be able to sit down with the ADD, who were they to them?
Well, what it was, I believe that there was a trip done last year, and I think 130 people um, came, and so on this occasion, 500 have turned up. So before he'd asked everybody to be an ambassador when they go back to their respective countries, and obviously a movement has grown out of it. And initially, it was a citizenship program, and that was planned, and then they then decided to do a type of a green card situation that America has, where you apply for your green card first, and then after a period of time, you are then granted citizenship. So that is the steps that led up to what happened today.
Mm, okay, okay. So are you now dual citizen, or I guess that would be tri-citizen of, because you have a few citizenships, right? Jamaica and UK, also now Burkina Faso.
No, so today um, we was granted permanent residence. So I said to you before that they changed it to permanent residence, and so after a period of time, you'll be able to then qualify and apply for your citizenship. So yes, when that time comes, I'll be a tri citizen.
Awesome, and congratulations. I have to repeat some of these questions too for everybody that wasn't in the Patreon, but patreon.com/traveltriberaw, link in the description. If you guys want to hear the exclusives and how the meeting with Ibrahim Chori went, that's definitely there for you. You can also find out about the ladies, and we had a small talk about that as well, which was also really good information. Now, let me ask you this: how long do you have to? What's the requirements basically to be a permanent resident? Like if you can say how many is it, yeah, how many Well, just what's the requirements, real quick? And let's say I'm just a stranger. Just do I need to go on the website, and then start applying there, or do I need to come into the country with a certain amount of money, ask for a certain type of visa? Like, what's the step by step for people that are interested?
Yeah, well, there's a process, and there's certain documentation that you need to have in order to get permanent residence. So what happened with with the group that I was with, um, it has been fast tracked, and so it it wouldn't be your normal way of getting permanent residence, but because there's such a vast number, it had to go for a fast track method.
Okay, so that fast track method, are they still doing this, or?
Well, the last day was today, so um, whoever's in that system will be fast tracked.
Okay. Any other information for people that might want to join at a later period, or not at this moment?
Yeah, so if people are interested, they just need to go onto the ADDI website,
Mm.
and they will get all the information on Burkina Faso and all the information about joining ADDI.
For visa, okay. And no, this is for permanent residency. This is not for the visa, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And
But you do need to apply for a visa to enter the country.
okay. And I'm guessing, of course, no visas on arrival, right?
Not, not, not at all.
Right, right. I didn't think so. Let me ask, how much is the visa for Burkina Faso?
I think it's about $120.
$120 USD.
Yeah,
Okay, that's not too bad. I'm sure a lot of people can save up some Jordan money, and
yeah, of course.
okay. Now, as for the cost of living, inside of Burkina Faso, are you finding things, expensive? Are you finding things, manageable? Or are you finding things very affordable?
I did think that some of the things were expensive, like in some of the stores. Um, but I then I then thought about they're trying to build up their economy. So I guess I guess it's understandable that certain prices are going to be different, um, and even the hotels. The I found that the price for food and drinks was more than they normally are in West African countries. It kind of reminded me of Senegal.
Okay. And would you say the country as a whole also reminds you of Senegal, or is that just price wise?
Yeah, the country as a whole does remind me of Senegal and Gambia.
Okay, so it's like a mix of Gambia and Senegal.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's really good to know, because for some people that have traveled to those countries, they'll be able to say, okay, now I kind of know what to expect when I get there. So, let's say for the food, right? For the food,
Mm.
um, how much exactly can you pay for maybe this meal that's on the screen? Just a basic meal. It's lunchtime. They don't got your good old KFC. So yeah, the melanated people in here that's trying to lick their fingers and eat some old white dude old recipe. You ain't got that option. You just got some regular rice, some maybe some beans in the mix, peas. A nice little slab of chicken. How much would that small meal cost?
It's going to run you between $10 and $15.
USD?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then. And now I'm not complaining, like that. I'm just looking at it from a, affordability, POV,
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
if you're eating in a restaurant or a hotel, it's going to run you that type of money. Now on the street in a little unknown cafe or something like that, you probably get away with about $4, but not in the hotel.
Now we
But,
talking. 'Cause- Yeah,
yeah,
because I only
but
do.
the majority of people that came, they ate in the hotels. They didn't eat outside. The majority
Mm,
ate in hotels. I don't. I tend never to do what the majority does. I tend to do the opposite.
nice.
So I went and ate out.
Nice, nice. I love to hear that, man. It's important not to follow the crowd. That's why, even with the rumors, of Ibrahim Chori not, messing with FBA or not messing with Black Americans, I said this might just be a rumor. Let me take it as what it may be for right now instead of actual value. So it's good that you're doing, what you like to do and you're following your own path. Um, would you say most of the people in your group are they, Black American or are they Black European? Uh, what are they?
Well, the initiative got started in America, so um, the initiative is going to remain majority American. So the majority of the people there were African American.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. All right.
Some of them may be FBA too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we sprinkled in throughout all types of groups around the world, so I'm sure they'll see, some FBAs in there most definitely.
Yeah, I know Tariq Nasheed.
Oh, nice. You know him personally, or?
Yeah, I know him personally.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Well, we're soon to get to that one, to that main question that I really wanted to ask. But before we get into, the main, topic here for Burkina Faso, let me just quickly run through the cost of living with you. So for the visa, we mentioned it's about 120 USD. For
Yeah.
a basic meal on the street, 4 USD. The basic meals on the street for the audience listening, those meals are gonna slap harder than your mom food, man. It's good, man. It's good. Them aunties that be on those street kitchens, man. I'm telling y'all, they make the best food. It's clean most of the time, and I'd say that in Africa, there's a certain type of sanitation level for street food in Africa versus when you see, a country like India. Would you say you've noticed that from, maybe just what you've seen online? I've visited to a lot of countries, so I've seen actual differences. But have you seen that, there's a lot of hygiene still on the street kitchens?
When you say hygiene, how do you mean?
Just things not just laying out like a decently clean environment. I'm not talking like Michelin star, but there's not a lot of like stuff just on the floor. They're not using random items to cook food. Like they actually put the chicken in a bucket. You might see one or two flies on there on the chicken, but they're gonna cook it really fast. I mean, it's just like a barbecue. When you're with your family at a park. A fly might get on that chicken, but once your uncle throws it on the grill, it's cool. It's not sitting out all day. I've actually watched Africans, cook on the streets, and I'm just noticing that their sanitation is a little bit better, than other countries. Now, India is not like all the areas in India have, horrible street food, but there is a lot of areas, and I mean a lot of areas where the sanitation is not up to par at all. Have you been to India?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's this huge difference. But when you ate the food, basically, let me ask you like this: did your stomach start rumbling after, or did you feel
No, no, no,
okay?
no.
Okay,
I was fine.
that's basically my question. And so 4 USD for the food, and that's a basic plate of rice and chicken, rice and beef. But then Huey here, who is currently in Burkina Faso, he mentions that if you guys go into the hotels, those meals might be, I believe he said 14 USD, something around that. So that's how much the food's gonna run you guys. How much is maybe a SIM card, so you can be able to use your
Uh,
device?
maybe $1.
Okay, $1. Okay, that's good. And how
Yeah.
much for the monthly subscription? Well, you haven't been there a month. Huey's been there for 14 days. For all the people that are just getting here, like the video, I appreciate you all for listening. This is a very important conversation we're having with this brother. So appreciate everybody that's in the chat. Now you said it's $1 for the SIM card. How much is it for data? Just maybe for 1 gigabyte.
Yeah, so if you're gonna get like let's say for instance you're gonna get 4 gigabytes, um that would run you about $5 for four gigabytes.
Okay, and that's not bad. I don't think
No,
that's a
that's good. That's good.
yeah. And how would you say the data actually is there? Like, is it? Well, we're having a great conversation. You're still on the ground there, right?
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that there's not a lot of problems here with regards to coverage and stuff like that. It's the network's pretty good.
Hmm. That's really good to hear. And then, how much would you say one night at like a basic hotel would be?
How much? Sorry.
Yeah, how much would you say one night at a basic hotel would be in Burkina Faso?
Uh, Basic hotel. If it's real basic, you're talking about $40 for the night.
Okay, not bad, not bad.
Basic.
Okay, that's not
If
bad.
you if you want a 4-star hotel, that'd be about
Mhm.
that would run you like about 125 US a night, including breakfast.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, All right, that's good to know. Definitely. Let's say like maybe a quick ride. I know you said they're not using Uber over there. We mentioned that on the Patreon. Um,
Yeah.
but are they I know what was the name of the ride sharing company you said?
So it's a company called OCalm. So it's O for orange, K for kangaroo, A for apple, L for Lima, M for mother. It's called OCalm.
Okay. And how much would you say a ride on Ocom is? For like maybe just like, just up the street, up the block.
Yeah, so you on average you're talking about 500 safer per kilometer. So 500 safer, that's about $5. No, not $5, sorry. That's about $1.
Okay. That's not too bad. Okay, that's not too
So
bad.
what? So $1 a kilometer.
Okay, that's not too bad. We can work with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm LA. I'm from Los Angeles. I do have a flight soon, and to get to the airport, it costs 100 and something bucks. And that's
Wow, that's mad.
yeah, and you're lucky if you get 100. To be honest, I've caught a couple flights already, and I'm just like, man, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's like $100 just to get like to 30 minutes, 25 minutes really to the airport, and it costs like 100. And that's if you get lucky with promos and all stuff. Really, it can even run you to 150. And this is for a basic Uber, so $1 to go up the block is definitely nice. Um, for the investments, right? Like, has anybody invested in Burkina Faso so far? Like in terms of maybe getting land or property.
Yeah, quite a few people.
Okay, and how much have you heard them, speaking of like, maybe 1 acre?
I haven't heard about the acreage, but I've heard people saying that they paid like 5,000 for a plot.
Okay, and this is USD, right?
Hmm.
Awesome. Okay, 5,000 for a plot. Not bad. Okay, not bad. Um, has the experience, getting these plots of land, has it been very let me see the word professional?
Well, like I said, I haven't dealt with any land issues myself, and I'm just hearing from the grapevine, but I've not heard of any issues with anybody acquiring land.
That's good. And that was all I was really curious about because, you know, seem like a very observative kind of brother. Like you seem like you're definitely noticing certain things and you're not just sitting around. A lot of people they just sit and let life drift by and not really pay attention. But it seems like you observe things. So, that's better than nothing for me, at least to gain information, at least you're telling us that, okay, yeah, I haven't heard much from anybody so far, of complaints and stuff. So that's really important. I'm happy to know that. So now I know a lot of people are waiting to finally get into the main topic before we hit our conclusion. Call into the show if you guys, are just coming in. The link is in the chat right now. But I know a lot of people want to get into the main topic. So let's just go ahead and get into the main topic, exposing Burkina Faso. Now, we're not here to hate on Ibrahim Traore. We're not here to really throw any shade or throw any type of, confusion. We just want some answers, right? Now, there was a rumor going around that, Burkina Faso, doesn't want any type of Americans inside of the country. Do you know where that stemmed from? Because from what you're telling me, as an Afro Caribbean, you've mentioned that, you've seen African Americans over there inside of Burkina Faso. So, you know, clearly he is okay with Americans coming in. So maybe you can help me understand what's going on with that.
Well, obviously, it's a lie. It's a big lie. 400 Americans have been in the city for 2 weeks, spending in excess of 500,000 every day. How you work that out? Do the maths.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's big money. And a lot of people, they just don't understand the amount of money that Black Americans have. It's spent so poorly inside of America. So a lot of, foreign countries, I don't think they actually know how much, Americans have, how much Afro Europeans have, how much Afro Caribbeans even have, to some extent as well. It's just there's a lot of money going on when you take the full African diaspora and you let that money circulate within a country. Because I always say, for African or melanated people, when we're going to foreign countries, a lot of times we're going there to possibly stay and set up shop, and that money that we get, that circulates inside of that African country's economy. So I'm sure Tariq would ask this question. I think a lot of FBA would ask this question: is Burkina Faso a worthy place of the American black dollar for so far from what you've seen?
100%. I know 10 people personally from America that have gone to Burkina Faso on a one-way ticket.
Wow. With no return, huh?
One-way ticket.
Mm. Wow.
I did. I know personally a lady that I bought a ticket for her. She's a retired teacher that left the United States about 20 years ago and was living in Belize. And she called me up saying that she wants me to organize a ticket from her to leave Belize and come to Burkina Faso. She said she's got no intentions of ever returning to America. So they can believe what they want to believe. I bought her ticket for her. and she's in Burkina Faso now. She actually said to me, "Oh, Huey, I don't want you to book the ticket at the time when the conference starts. I want to get there a month beforehand. Just sort out my hotel for me, and then I'll do the rest." So that's what I did for her. Yeah, she's there right now, in her 70s,
Wow.
going on to 80s.
Say that again.
In her 70s, going on to 80s.
Wow, that's amazing. And a lot of people, that have gone to Africa, they've been scammed. They've gone through so many problems, so many issues, because unfortunately, a lot of African Americans were duped, thinking that, when you go to these African countries, they're going to look at you as actually their brother or sister. And a lot of people have been conned or effed over or scammed out of thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's a really messed up situation and it's sad because on one part of me, I actually even understand the scammer. I'm like, man, your country, your government is so evil. They've stripped you from everything. So now you start scamming your own family, because if they're scamming Black Americans, but they're also scamming their own people too. They have no morals when it comes to it, but their government has stripped them of everything. So at the same time, I get from their point of view, doesn't mean that it's okay, but I understand, the situation that they're in. So I'm curious to know, in Burkina Faso, what means are being set up to ensure that when African Americans are coming to do business or get land inside of the country, that they don't get scammed and duped as well?
Do you know the meaning of Burkina?
I at some point did, but you're gonna have to tell me.
Right, the land of the most honorable.
Honorable, yes. I thought it was honest, honorable. Okay, okay, cool, 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 cool. So, but do they live up to their name?
Tell you what, I'll tell you what their name stands for: the land of the honorable.
And do the people live up to that name?
Of course they do.
Hmm. So far so good, it sounds like.
It was excellent.
Okay. And tell me though, what means are being set up though? Because I believe something that needs to happen. And shout out to Ecan Fire. He comments, he says $2 billion spent in Ghana, 2018 to 2020. Limited profits. Burkina Faso is dealing with corruption. It's a much better deal. I can see the profits from afar. Uh, did you have anything to say on that?
What did he say about Burkina Faso?
He said is dealing with corruption. It's a much better deal.
Okay, how does he mean?
We'll come back to this one. I think my question is a bit more important over his statement, because he just gave a statement, and mine was more of a question towards you, so we can understand if Burkina Faso is worth the black dollar, and we're talking Black American dollar, especially for the FBA community. Um, as it pertains to Burkina Faso right now, what are they doing to ensure that, Black Americans or Afro Europeans that are going over with their money don't get scammed?
Well, what government has anything in place against scammers?
Honorable ones.
Which government is honorable in the West?
I mean, me personally, I'm not a West fan, so I wouldn't be able to give any Western
Okay.
countries that I think are honorable. But I'm curious because Burkina Faso is trying to set up something different. So I'm trying to see, what things, because you actually spoke with you spoke with Ibrahim Chori today. So I'm trying to figure out, like, was there any, talk about, maybe assisting, giving the Black Americans, a legal representative, so that if there's any issues that they can actually sue, if there's
Well,
any type.
that's what you hire lawyers for. That for that exact thing that you just mentioned. It's not down to Ibrahim to put anything in place. It's for you to make sure you safeguard your interests. So the first thing you should do, no matter what country you do, is always have a good lawyer by your side. America is the number one suing country in the world. There's always a lawyer ready to sue for something or another. So I'm saying it's down to each individual to assess and do their due diligence. It's not for me or for you to say what it is or what it is not. It's just down to individuals to do their due diligence and know what they're doing before they do it. There's more flexibility in Burkina Faso because all the red tape's been cut because it's under a military government. Under a so-called democratic government, you got so much obstacles in your way that it's hard to maneuver. When you got something like this, Ibrahim said that there's many opportunities, and he wants those opportunities going to the descendants of the ancestors. So that includes African Americans. So I'm
And,
going to take him up. I'm going to take him up on his word.
and you said opportunities. Opportunities as in what?
Business.
Mm, okay. Did he mention any kind of business for specifically for the African Americans that would be good
No,
to? Okay.
he made it very clear that Burkina Faso is open for business, whether you're selling pencil sharpeners or aeroplane jets. It's open for business.
Hmm. Now, I guess I'm curious, right? So for Ibrahim Chori, it sounds like he was very welcoming for Black Americans and, a lot of melanated Black people around the world to come into the country. Man, my bad. I messed up.
Okay, I thought you cut yourself off.
No, I was like, God, Lee, I hope I didn't end the live stream. So my question is, for Ibrahim Traore, it sounds like he's really open to having a lot of African Americans and just Black people around the world to come into his country to do business, etc. What exactly would
Why do you always specify Black Americans?
Well, I'm a Black American. Most of the subscriber base is Black American, and the whole reason for this conversation is because the FBA has many questions on the subject.
Okay, so the he's opened it up for anybody of African descent.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned, melanated. I really meant to say Afro. I've been mentioning Afro-European, Afro-American, Afro-Caribbean. So we're on the same page with that. My main question, though, is for Ibrahim Traore, he's inviting, you know, a lot of melanated, African descent people into his country. What would you say that his mission is direct? If you can just give it to us direct, like Ibrahim Traore's mission is clearly this.
Well, his number one mission that he spelled out today to me was the field of communication. He said that he's going to put his backing and all the resources of the country behind communication by setting up a radio station and a TV network so that people can hear the truth and not the distortions, but the truth. But he said that we've got to be able to put our message out there. So his number one message today was about communication. And I understand that because we must have our own propaganda tool. Just like the white man's got his propaganda tool, we should have our own propaganda tool also. So yeah, that was his that's why I took from him today as his number one mission.
Right. That's very important. And, you know, what's the long term goal that he has for African descent people inside of his country? You know, I know you mentioned business, but what's the long term goal? You know, what exactly do Black people get out of this deal? You know why I'm asking this is because I already know what people are thinking, right? Especially the FBA community, which is the main purpose for this video. I know what a lot are most likely thinking. Well, what exactly do we get out of this? Because we've already built up one country, and to build up another country, you know, without having a for sure destination and to understand exactly what we'll get in return, well, it wouldn't be worth it for us. You know, we already built up one country and they promised the reparations that was never given. So let's say we go and invest in another, you know, like a lot of Black Americans or FBAs are doing all around the world right now, especially in Africa. They'll say that, man, you know, I got ripped off, I got conned, you know. So that's why I'm just curious, what is the long-term goal Ibrahim Traore has for the African descendants?
Um, I wouldn't say that I have that particular answer to give, but based on the discussions that he had with us today, his long term goal is to see the white man take his foot off your neck in America. Because right now, the white man's got his foot on your neck, both physically and mentally. And some of you don't want to have that foot removed. You actually enjoy being having that foot on your neck. But some of us want to remove that foot for good. And so Traore said, well, this is the place to come to if you want to have that foot amputated and never again happening to you. That was his message. So it's now down to the African American black man and woman from FBA to decide, does he want to really build up another country, or does he want to sit with Trump and argue over some breadcrumbs? Because Trump ain't going to give you nothing.
Well, I guess what a lot of FBAs are wondering is that, you know, Africa hasn't really given much to Black Americans already, you know, so, you know, fighting for reparations, especially for the FBA, you know, that might be more beneficial than even going to Burkina Faso, you know, to, I'm just throwing devil's advocate out here, to a Black American going to, you know, a country that doesn't exactly have a plan established yet for the Black Americans, you know, or a destination, you know, yet. It just might make more sense for Black Americans to stay inside of America and keep fighting for the reparations over on this end, especially if there's no destination, you know, that's been spoken of at the least, you know, yet in Burkina Faso. You know, it's just it's a lot of money being wasted, you know, a lot of scams going on, and you know, it's very risky. Now, me personally, I want to say this, you know, how I actually view it, not from an FBA lens or African diaspora lens. I look at you know, Burkina Faso as uh a country that's inside of its revolutionary stage. And right now, it's either they uh, men together and do what needs to be done so that their country can create the legacy that needs to happen, or you know, they, you know, get lackadaisical, and you know, we see how other African countries, they're suffering for this, and most countries are going to suffer forever, you know,
Mm.
indefinitely. So you know, that's how I'm looking at Burkina Faso at the current moment in time. um, I see it as a revolutionary country. You know, I see them putting in the work. But at the same time, I do look at it from the angle of the FBA, and I say to myself, well, dang, this sounds like another country that, Black Americans will put their American dollars into and not get anything in return. You
There's
know,
no African country that's ever offered you citizenship.
well, people would say that Ghana has offered something, but even then, there's been certain stipulations with Ghana as well. So, it's just, it's kind of like, what I believe a lot of FBAs would say right now if they were on this phone call. I think a lot of people would say we need something in writing that is legally promised to us in return for our American dollars. Because I can guarantee you this, and I'm no expert. I'm just a messenger. So I'm just a person that's watching and stuff. But I can guarantee you this about the Americans, right? Especially the Black Americans, resilient people. That's number one. People that face challenges to this day but are still fighting, people that do not give up. And that's one of the biggest issues that America has with the Black Americans, is that this is a race of people that just won't forget, and they keep fighting. They're, even through dysfunction, they're still highly unified. And that's something that's there, but I do believe this about the Black American, is that if you write down on paper and you say, Black Americans, you come to our country and spend your American dollars here, this is what you get in return. I do believe that would be the best strategy for Burkina Faso at this moment, because too many things are promised to people in this life, and we see that that promise never comes to fruition. You see marriage these days, they tell people that that's going to be forever. But then we see that, that eventually crumbles out. We have, people that say that, I almost said something I shouldn't even say on YouTube, but we have certain, business partnerships that people say this will be forever. But I've been all around the world, and a lot of these partnerships break up at, like, a year later, and that's even done. But the main thing I think for the FBA, I think they're looking for something that's written on paper, something that's actually spoken of. And it's crazy because that's all it would take for a lot of Black Americans too. Just say it. Say what we'll get. Do we get 10% ownership of the country? Do we get um do we get to own this land more than 99 years? Do we get an actual a lawyer that is ours, that we can hold to ourselves, that is just for the Black Americans, like the Chinese get when they go into foreign African countries? I think these things are very important to establish now, because to me, it's a lot of money that's on the table. To me, it's a lot of money that's on the table. So, anyways, what's your thoughts on that, though? We'll get to the comments in a second. I see all the comments. Thanks to everybody being here. Like the video. But let's hear Huey's thoughts on that.
There is a country actually that's put those things in writing called Benin. They've actually, I've got to commend them as the only country that's got something in place on their website, and when you apply, they will grant you citizenship within 90 days. Now, as in terms of something in writing, the reason why it's very important to be careful how you put down something in writing, or a promissory note. Um, Governments change hands, and when governments change hands, they don't necessarily carry out the ideals or wishes of the previous government. And these are things that you've got to be concerned about. So when the American government told you that they was going to give you 40 acres and a mule, they didn't carry out the promise, did they? They reneged. They reneged on the promise. So what I'm saying to you is that You could have a coon one day come up in society, and he decides that he's not following through on what the fathers of the nation wanted to happen. So that's why I don't think it's wise to put those things in writing. But if a president tells you there's opportunity here to come home and build on your foundation, take him up on it.
Hmm. That was interesting. So I'm curious of this, right? I'm curious of this. Now, yeah, people can renege. That's the example I had given earlier. Even a marriage contract isn't solid. But I do believe that there will be a lot of African Americans that if they simply heard Ibrahim Chori say, "Hey, invest in this, and this will be your profits in a year, or this will be the estimated profit," just anything, and we can even call these type of words almost like hope you know, anything like that. Because just saying to come home doesn't exactly work for a lot of Black Americans at this time and day, because Black Americans have been done bad so much, not just by America, but also by African countries as well. There's been a lot of African Americans that have been to Africa, constantly getting scammed, constantly going through issues. Doesn't mean that all African people are horrible people, but it does mean you run into quite a bit of issues inside these countries. I will say this though, right? Since, of course, people renege on contracts all the time, since new governments overthrow old ones, fine. Can we at least get a appointed lawyer, someone that while we do these things inside of these countries, that's why I mentioned this thing about the lawyer earlier, or legal representation, because what's going on is a lot of Black Americans are giving the black dollar to a lot of these foreign countries, but they don't have any legal representation. A lot of countries don't even acknowledge Black Americans as a actual source. A lot of countries don't.
Because a lot of Black
One second,
Americans,
one second, real quick. A lot of Black Americans, they don't get acknowledged inside of these foreign countries, and when they're inside of these foreign countries and they're spending this money, it can easily just be taken because they don't have anybody that works with them. I learned this from the Chinese from watching them do business inside of East Africa, and a lot of countries are over there. And inside of these countries, they get actual officials that are, I'll say, I won't exactly even say they are appointed. I'll say that they're more in the pockets, right? Like they own these officials. And I'm not saying that as like we need to bring back slavery and ownership of humans. I'm saying own in a way that's like you're mine. You answer to me. You work for me. You're my representation. You know what I'm saying? You make sure things run smoothly for me doing business inside of your country. I just believe that with as much money that the African American dollar has, there needs to be some sort of effort like that, when Black Americans are going to Africa doing these projects. Because, like you said, people can renege and, things can go like that. But at least in the journey of getting things done, we need some type of representation, at least for the Black Americans. But go ahead and say what you were going to say. Then we'll get to the
I was going
conversation.
to say, if that's what you're looking for, there is a country in place that has that, and there's no corruption there. It's probably the only African country I've been to that I've not experienced any corruption, and I've never ever seen corruption there. I actually was really impressed. So there is a country there, and they've got the lawyer in place and stuff like that. So you may want to go there instead.
Hmm.
And
And what was the country called?
it's actually the cleanest country in Africa,
Really? What was the country called?
Rwanda.
Rwanda. Interesting. Interesting.
0% corruption.
Hmm. And when we say 0%, I'm sure you mean, what it seems to be 0%, right? Because
Well,
We know corruption goes on everywhere.
Yeah, we know that, but I'm saying when I say 0%, I really mean about 0.125%. That's what I really mean.
Mm, I see. I see. Okay, well, that can be a country that Black people look more into, FBAs, Black Americans. And, I'm saying all this just to play devil's advocate, right? Because truthfully, and we're going to read you guys' comments in a second, but truthfully, something has to give for the Black American dollar. It's just too much money to just be spending with no actual destination. It's just too much. The Black Americans have spent quite a lot of money. And, I think America's starting to wake up and see, like, damn, I think they've always known actually, but I think it's really starting to hit them now. We see companies like Target are getting hit and certain companies, and you're just like, wow, I can't believe this really affected them like this, but you think again, you're like, well, it makes sense because the African American dollar is there's a lot of money in this community. So, you know, I just, from what I'm seeing, especially from the FBA, from people that are traveling, it's just too much money to be wasted, with no real destination. And I'm saying this as devil's advocate, but I believe if I was to give any message for Ibrahim Chori, it would be to give an actual destination for the Black Americans, because Black Americans, there is a percentage of Afro people from all around the world that you got to look at and you say to yourself, you guys would probably not be best off inside this community. You guys are suffering from something going on up there. There's something, that's not really connected in the synapses above. But, you do have a nice percentage of people, whether African American, Afro Caribbean, Afro Latin, Afro, Latin, um, some say Afro Hispanic. You have Afro people all around the world. And this is something amazing that I realized from traveling all around the world. Even in parts of Asia, you have people that are dark skinned. And of course, they'll never admit to this. But some, when you actually speak with them, they'll even say that, "Oh, I understand that my ancestry comes from African." So there's Afro all around the world, but the main goal is what type of Afro you have. Are you just an African American that is, doing nothing with your life? Have you completely given up? Or are you still willing to fight the fight that is worth a fight? Because at the end of the day, this will benefit your legacy. This will progress you and your people. How it needs to, how your society needs to be progressed. And I believe my message to Ibrahim Chori would be, give those people a mission. You know what I'm saying? Give them a destination. Excuse me. Give them a destination. That destination is so important because there's so many Black people right now that are just looking to hear, what is I hear the mission, but where's the destination? Where does this land us? How does this make sense on paper for us? Like, there's so much money. It just, to me, it just seems like a waste. It just seems like a waste, because there's so much money in the Black American community. And it's just a waste, to not tap into this. If you're serious about getting people inside of the country and you're serious about Afro, like you said earlier, he's big on Black Americans and all Afro people coming back to their home, then there needs to be a plan of action, because it should be taken into consideration how much Black Americans have been effed over. Black Europeans have been effed over. All the Afro countries I've seen where Afro people have been effed over. We're all in the same boat. But when you give these people a plan and unlock something inside their mind, because they say, you know what, for the first time in life, I actually have a goal. I know if I get this amount of money and put this amount of money into this, I actually will get this in return. There's just never any goal. So I really would like to give Ibrahim Chori that message, because I believe that's so important. I believe the country is headed somewhere that will change the face of this world, this planet that we all live on. I believe that, but I do believe that there needs to be an actual landing, an actual destination. So while I'm talking about landings, let me land and read these comments, because I see, there's a lot of comments, and like I said, I'm just here as a listener. I'm here as, someone that is, openly just here to gain information and give, what I know, play devil's advocate in some way as well. So, appreciate you listening. And let's read these comments real quick because we do have quite a few comments, and then we'll close out. But Ecan Fire says there is no gold in America. Paper money depends on human validation. Very true. Borderless Africa says, listening to FBA statement, I think their fears won't allow them to take advantage on the on the continent. Mm, Listening to FBA statement, I think their fears won't allow them to take. That's not true. That's not true because the one thing about FBAs is they'll take advantage of any situation. So you know what I'm saying. A, uh, if you give them a country that actually has a landing and that tells you this is where you will end up if you do this, there's a 98%, 99% chance if this is done right, if we do this, this is where you guys will be. You don't want to be mentally enslaved anymore. You don't want to be, physically enslaved to your country. You want your offspring to live a life that is the Wakanda, as a lot of people call it. Do this. This will lead you to here. 1+1 = 2. It always equals 2. But it can't be 1+1 = question mark because that confuses too many people. So I think when you give people a destination, it's very important. So let me see. What kind of money are we talking about? Money, spending money, or investing money? We're talking about money. We're talking about concrete. Anything that is valuable. It doesn't just have to be money in terms for reparations. We're talking about anything that's valuable. We're talking about precious metals. We're talking about minerals. We're talking about just property, land, things of this nature. I don't even think reparations should just be in just money, cash paper, because it's worthless at the end of the day. Ecan Fire says, what about when the almighty dollar fall? What do you do then? Oh, yeah, that's good that he asked that because we just answered that question. Rain says, it has to be in writing, a treaty, the constitution that can't be voided. Mm, mm, mm. That is a good point because we do notice that even in America, when they decided to renege on their words, their meaningless words, they did still keep one thing, which was their treaties. So that's a good point right there, Rain. Borderless Africa says there are Chinese investments in Africa, and before these profitable Chinese businesses, the individual Chinese did not spend so much time demanding what clauses they can get from these countries. Yeah, because the country saw their worth and says, hey, take these people, take them. These people are yours. They speak for you. They're your representatives. That's all I'm asking for, melanated people around the world. I'm just asking to have a representative. You know, we need representation. I think that would be very, very important. Um, Nymic Cabril says sad frequency. Oh, sorry, Chifu, have a sad frequency. Ecan Fire says the African diaspora is being aided personally by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Burkina Faso. Can you let me know, is this true?
You speaking to me?
Yes, sir.
So, can you repeat the answer of the question?
Yeah, Ecan Fire says the African diaspora is being aided personally by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Burkina Faso.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay, nice. I wish that was mentioned earlier because, that would have been a good POV for representation.
Well, what President Traore has done, he's opened up his doors specifically to the descendants of the enslaved, and he's attached his foreign minister and his ambassador in Washington D.C. to accelerate anything to do with black people and their connection or doing business or getting anything done in Burkina Faso. Those those two offices, he's made it clear that they have to move fast. So they've been doing that.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you for answering his question. Borderless Africa comes in and says most FBAs are not even business owners in the US. So, where is from this perception that FBA money is what will resurrect Africa? For that reason, FBA needs a special babysitting. Do you have any thoughts on this question, on this comment?
Well, well, I don't know the status of most FBA members. One of the things that I would want to question is that if FBA members believe that they're descendants of America and not Africa, why? What is their reason for wanting to invest into Africa if they're not accepting that they're a descendant of Africa? Unless if I got it wrong, I'm not sure if I got that wrong.
No, I
That's
think the FBAs that acknowledge that their roots are in Africa. I think they just have said that, it's kind of a new, like it's just like how uh let's say at some point were Jamaicans always considered Jamaican, or was there someone there before?
there was somebody there before.
Right. So I think they're looking at it like that, like, Jamaicans get to call themselves Jamaicans, so you know why don't black African Americans get to call themselves something else, besides, Africans? Why do they have to go under that title, you know
Because the natives have already taken that name. And
well, that's
you're
why
now wanting to
why
you
that's
you
why they're
now want to say that you now want to come along and say that you're natives also. So there's some there's something that's not clear there. Who's the real native? Is it yourself or is it the so-called Indian?
No, that's wrong. They're not trying to be called Native Americans. They're trying to be called foundational Black Americans, meaning like that you've built the foundation of the country, considered now to be America. So they're not trying to be considered as like the new Native Americans or anything like that. They're acknowledging that, okay, we have our roots that have came from Africa. Um, but currently inside of America, we no longer want to be considered as African because Jamaicans get to be considered Jamaicans, and then you have you know uh, South Africans, even in a way, if you call South African an African, they don't want to be considered an African. They'll tell you I'm South African, and they'll say it with some pep in their step. I'm South African. Like
Mm,
what's the difference from, but
mm.
see, that's almost rude in a way to call them the same because they're completely different in their mind from a lot of Africans. Just from the ones I've talked to, this is what they've told me. We are not Africans, we're South Africans, completely different from Africans, so I think that's how Black Americans are looking at it. Like we are, on paper in America, they're considered to be African American, but what they're trying to establish is no, this is FBA foundationally Black American. I'm a foundational Black American. That's you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's just that you give yourself a reason to be attacked by those on the outside, by actually separating yourself from that actual African American tag, so to speak. Because I hear that I hear even that Jew boy has been bashing you guys. What's that guy's name? what's that guy's name?
Did you say the J word?
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool. We don't have to talk about them on here. I don't want to get my channel removed.
Okay.
They be
Okay.
mad when you say stuff like that, man. I'm like, yeah, we can't say nothing on their platform. It's unfortunate,
Okay.
but
Yeah. He interviews all those uh, rappers and stuff like that.
oh, DJ Vlad.
Yes.
Ah, yes. And what were you saying that he said? You don't have to say the J word, but you could just say the what he said.
Yeah. So I heard him coming out hard against FBA.
You said what? How was what?
I heard him coming out hard on FBA. I heard the other guy coming out hard on FBA too, the Puerto Rican rapper. And the reason why they're coming out hard is because they see some type of separation from the African Americans and yourselves. And then you got the other lady, the lesbian. What's her name? What's her organization called?
Excuse me, 1 second. I'm just gonna step away. I can still hear you, but it's freezing. So give me a second. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Um, what's she? Okay, so there's FBA, and then there's I can't remember her organization.
Oh, Black Lives Matter, something like that.
No, no. Um, she
Well,
she she
mm,
started out this her organization before Tariq.
mm, mm. Is it
So
ADOS? I don't know.
ADOS,
Oh,
yes,
I'm not.
yeah.
You know what? I'm not too familiar, man. All I know is I'm a Black American man, and I'm just here, in America, making my money and doing what I need to do, having good conversations like this. So that's really all I'm
So
really.
so what I'm saying is that we just got to be clear. It's either we're descendants of Africa that's been called home, or we're not. Let's stay on code. That's all I'm saying. Let's stay on code.
Well, this is where things get troublesome because it's like for African descendants of slaves or for the FBA, whatever it is, right? Let's just say that for your first point that you said, your first point, you had mentioned that that would be singling Black Americans out, right? If they're considered to be FBA, right? And they're taking away the African root name, right?
Yeah.
And that's the troublesome thing is that how come all these other countries get to go by their name, so that they can have, their, separation from people that are coming into their country that are possibly looking like them and making them look bad, but Black Americans don't get that same privilege. African Americans don't get that same privilege. It's like, just imagine, for instance, you're Jamaican, but let's say somebody from Haiti comes inside your country and does something. Wouldn't you want separation of that? Not saying that Haitian people are all bad. I'm just saying, if somebody comes into your country and they, everybody reports that, oh, this is, an African, is basically African American, like, it gets extremely confusing. So I believe that's why FBAs are like, no, we need our own title. We need to be completely separated. Even when it comes to reparations, there needs to be a clear people that are to receive this money. When we're grouping everybody as African American, that just gets too confusing. Does that make sense, or is it like, nah?
No, I understand, but you know, when you see the Chinese and you see the Indians,
They definitely separate.
they but they got one common denominator. They're Chinese.
Right.
There's a common denominator. They ain't no foundation. They ain't no foundation of Chinese.
Well, Chinese
They
are one
they
of
they
the
know
most
they ain't no
separated people. They don't even, I know Chinese people, they won't even talk to Thai people. They're like, Thai people. Man, what? Don't talk to that. Do you mean the ghetto? Like I've heard this from a Chinese person, man. You know what I'm saying? They don't mess with like at least for the one person I talked to that was Chinese told me that. I said, damn, this how you and his family viewed them as the same way. So I don't know. I believe that they really separated and they wouldn't be considered foundational because they're not the ones that basically built the country, were stolen from the country and then built the country up.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
like
So
it's like sometimes I might be ignorant, and I will see a so-called Chinese person part me, and I will say to them, ni hao," and then the person would tell me, "I'm not Chinese." I thought, okay,
mm,
my bad,
mm,
my
mm.
bad.
It happens.
So I know that um, I know that externally they may be like that, but internally they see themselves as a one Chinese policy. You know what I'm saying? And
But
that's
there's
why
no
they.
problem with that. But they can't consider themselves to be one Asian policy. That wouldn't be a good look for, Chinese people, right? If one Japanese person does
I
something
think they.
and they
No, I
attack
do think.
America or something like that, then Chinese people don't want to be associated with the Japanese. You guys just attacked America.
I think they do acknowledge as a race that they are Asian or Asiatic. I do believe that, even if we don't want to say that they're Chinese, but if we were to group them, they'd all fall under Asia. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm getting you. It's just to compare, I guess comparing Chinese people to foundational Black Americans just maybe is not the best comparison because it's completely two separate things. One person was stolen from their homeland to never return. They're actually projected all to be off and to be ended in the grave. They weren't ever supposed to. FBAs were never supposed to be this rich and have this much money in the community. It was never supposed to be like this. Even the most poor, FBA has a lot of money, compared to a lot of countries. And this isn't to brag. This is just to simply say that foundational Black Americans were thrown to America completely forgotten about. And then, you know, by the grace of struggle and understanding, uh, the FBAs knew exactly what needed to be done, and they did what needed to be done so that we can all have the freedoms that we have now. So it's just kind of different comparing that to Chinese, because Chinese, they're not gonna, they wasn't taken from their homeland, sold off, and then uh, now the Chinese are saying, man, you guys should still identify as Chinese people, like. You know, it's definitely an interesting topic. Let me read some of this real quick.
Okay.
He can fire says borders, and we'll close out soon. I do appreciate you guys. Right now, inside of Burkina Faso, I'm pretty sure. What time is it?
It's 2:35 in the morning.
2:35 a.m. So I appreciate you for being here. We're gonna conclude soon, so this brother can get him some sleep, man. Because geez, Louise, he talked to he talked to Ibrahim Traore today, and all this stuff, and now he's doing a whole interview for us. So guys, really show appreciation to him.
I actually thought it was going to be a 10-minute interview.
Oh man, yeah, I should have gave it time for it too. I appreciate your time, definitely. If you actually have to go now, that's no problem. I'll close out and I'll read the comments.
No, let's chop it up till about for the next 15 minutes.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Let me read some of these comments real quick. And yeah, that was on me. I definitely didn't give it time. That's not good. Because there's definitely a time difference, guys. So show some appreciation to this brother for staying on here, chatting it up with us. Ecan Fire says zero corruption inside of Rwanda, except for them rubbing and occupying parts of Congo. What do you have? What's your thoughts on of this?
Yeah, we know about that. We know about that, but I was just being specific to the running of the internal government and the cleanliness of the country,
Mm,
and how you can open up a business within 6 hours of arriving in the country. So
mm,
there's things they've got in place there, um, and infrastructure, which is second to none. But I understand the thing about the Congo. That's an external affair where if we don't understand the history, it's best we don't comment on it.
Mm. So, and then I like that you said that too. If you don't understand, you don't comment. That's great because nobody's a robot. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has all the info, so that's very important. Borderless Africa says the so much money this guy is shouting about is the money that we burn on waste and consumption. The so much, please guys, better grammar for me so I can understand a bit better. Ecan Fire says borderless Africa, be more traditional. Okay, I guess they're going back and forth a bit. Uh, America is a $1.7 trillion economy in America. If Burkina Faso gets less than a quarter of that population, that's billions of dollars. So chill. No, that's a good point. And that's what I'm saying. Uh, there's so much money in the community, and there just needs to be a goal. That's I think that's all I'm really trying to say here. There just needs to be a goal because while Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traore, I'm sure they've gotten a great plan together on how they're going to achieve greatness for them and their country. And Niger has also, thrown in support in other countries nearby. It's an amazing thing to hear. It's definitely amazing. I'm in full support of, Africa for the Africans, black people for the black people, melanation for the melanated. I'm a huge supporter of this. So I'm for any movement around the world with melanated people trying to get better in life because what I've seen from all the countries I've traveled to, melanated people in every single country I've been to, even inside of America where melanated people have the most money versus all the other countries on earth, I'd still say Black Americans are still at the lowest. In every single country, it's like this. Every single country that you have melanation, you'll always have somebody in extreme poverty that is also melanated, and they're at that level where it's just like, damn, this is not good. So I'm for melanated people winning in life and living a life that's worth living. Actually, I talk about this a lot on my financial freedom masterclass. I talk about how this life is the one life that we are supposedly this is the one life that we supposedly have access to, right? We don't know if reincarnation is real, etc. So it's about time you take back control of your life and start living a life that's worth living. So I talk about strategies on how you can move to a foreign country in the quickest amount of time possible, getting legal money fast in your Western country and making that money last you in a foreign country so you can start living that life that's worth living. I also talk about how you can get the money that you already currently have and do proper investments, legitimate business in foreign countries as well, so that you can also live the life that is worth living. Especially in the long term, when I talk about how you can find your wife, how you can have successful and useful business partners as you're traveling. Legitimate business partners is very important for men that are already developed and they've already got their money. And also talk about ways that you can still, live a good life, women and nice culture, with a little bit of money that you might have. So, that's in the Financial Freedom Masterclass on Patreon. I just thought I'd plug that in there, guys, because since we're talking about it, but yeah, it's very important. If anybody wants to call in, you guys can call in. But yeah, there's so much money inside the Black community, man. And my main goal is just that there needs to be a destination for the Black people. I know how this ends for Burkina Faso, Niger, and the ones that push. Either they're going to be victorious
Mali.
or they're going to fail. But I know, given the spirit of the Africans, given the spirit of our ancestors, we can accomplish great things when we put our minds to it. So I'm leaning more towards success for Burkina Faso, for Niger, and the surrounding countries that are, I believe, a part of the Sahel. Is it called Sahel Union?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I'm in full support of this. I know that the powers will be successful, but that's for them. I see the mission in it for them in their country. You know what I'm saying? And their unions. But I just think that for FBAs, it needs to be a better laid out plan, for them to want to invest and do business inside of such a country, you know. There just needs to be, you know, number one, representation. Number two, an actual destination, representation and destination. I think those are the two main things. If you could get legal representation for Black people when they're going to these foreign countries, I believe somebody had mentioned this as well, that they already have somebody that is assisting the African diaspora, but we need somebody specifically for
But,
FBAs, like
yeah, but
specifically.
yeah, but what more can you get more specific than your foreign affairs minister?
Well, they said that this foreign affairs minister is for the African diaspora, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm saying that we need someone specifically for the FBA, because the African diaspora, for a lot of people, they would consider to be, mainly Africans. Sometimes you'll hear that African Americans
No,
might.
no, no, no. That's not true.
Well, I
The
wasn't finished.
the
I was saying that sometimes African Americans, they'd also identify as, a part of African diaspora, and African descendant people all around the world, they would also consider to be a part of African diaspora. But I was saying that the FBA needs a specific team of people mainly just for them. The Foreign Affairs Department is not just one person, right? You know, it's many. So there needs to be a separate branch just for the FBA, because the FBA, they're coming in with a certain amount of money, you know, and things of that nature. Well, I'll leave it simple as that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to get my point across. But you can say what you were going to say.
yeah, Rwanda has that program in place where
Specific Black
they
Americans.
are, yeah, they answer specifically. There's an office in the president's office where they answer specifically to the president's office.
This is good to know. I hope the audience is listening. So take note of this. You
Yeah,
said
because I
office
run
of
a company
president.
called Abattoirs, so these are some of the things that we help people to do in regards to residency, work permits, citizenship, and we know which countries are more likely or not to grant you that, or we know which countries are able to issue a work permit quicker than another country, and things like that. So www.aga tours is who I represent, and they have been doing tours since 2006, primarily West Africa, but now East, Southern, um, as well has been added to our portfolio.
Wow, that's really good to know. And congratulations on that business and that company that you've started.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So I mean, if there's no more questions, oh, we do have some more people that have came in. But yeah, I think that's good that you mentioned this, because I always say that if somebody's gonna say something, there needs to be, you know, another plan of action, right? Like some people will tell you things, and then there's no like, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, then what's next? And I like that you gave, like, something that a lot of FBAs could look at next, and for a lot of FBA, the plan isn't even to go back to Africa, right? But my goal here is just to say, for Black Americans that are foundational Black Americans, you know, if you are considering to push more into African diaspora, and to, go to a country after getting your reparations, or even if you don't get your reparations, you're looking for a country that is for you, that you can actually have legitimate business, that you can do legitimate business in, you can make legitimate connections, you can get legitimate land, you know, it's important to have that representation. So I like that you mentioned Rwanda as one of the options, and you mentioned your company. I believe you said www.aga.com, correct? A,
agatours.co.uk.
AGA.
agatours.co.uk.
Mhm. Okay, www.agatours.co.uk.
Co, C-O, .uk.
.uk, yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned that because Rwanda, since Burkina Faso may not be there yet, and guys, we have to give them time. You know, we rush our people a lot. We must give time and grace, you know, because as it currently sits, Burkina Faso is handling a lot, you know, and I'm pretty sure it's not easy to, you know, uh, stage a coup, you know, overthrow your previous government, you know what I'm saying, and implement a new one that's much better, that more people are open to, more people are happy with. So I understand that this was something that wasn't easy, and you know, is definitely not for the weak. So we have to give credit to Ibrahim Traore for pushing through. But you know, I was just giving a plan of action for, you know, if they wanted those FBA dollars, because that is a lot of money. So let me just respond to this last comment and then we'll close out. Ecan Fire says, borderless Africa, why are you so pessimistic? Why are you being aggressive on your own people? I repeat, the Ghana government made $2 billion in 2 years from Black American 5,000 people. Yeah, because they're coming with a lot of money. So there's a little bit of tension in the comment sections, which is good. But at the end of the day, we must remember that the Black American community does have a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? This is not a flex. This is not to say that we're better than anyone. This is just to say that there is a lot of money inside of the Black American community. And, you know, if these countries do want those Black American dollars that will completely benefit them, it needs to be something written out on paper, you know, that shows that the Black Americans will also be benefited from this as well. So I'll end on that note. If you don't have anything else to say, then I'll close out. Huey, I do appreciate you for your time today as well.
I appreciate you, bro. How did you hear about me?
Oh, you're actually in my group chat, man.
Oh,
The African Kings.
Kings. Okay,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, so you knew that I was in Kenya a few weeks back, and I was in Tanzania.
Actually, I didn't know. You know, I haven't really been too active in the chat, but I'm
Okay,
starting to be more active in it because, you know, the time is now. So, you know, I've been busy working, but definitely check in here and there. But yeah, I
okay.
think there's another brother that just got to Kenya too. So,
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah,
right, right. And if you guys don't know, I do have a group chat with a lot of great brothers all around the world. If you guys are
yeah.
interested.
Add me to it.
Oh yeah, you're in it already, brother. You're in it already.
Okay. All right, brilliant,
Yes, yes.
brilliant.
But yeah, I'll go ahead and exit you out, Huey. I appreciate you for your time again.
Yeah, thank you, King.
Make sure you guys check him out as well. Let me remove him from the stage. Okay, now guys, it's just me talking to you. I think we're gonna try to hit this 2 hour mark. But I do want to say I appreciate all you guys being here. Um, shoot, did I lose my train of thought that easy? Guess that means I really need to close out, huh? But yeah, I do have a group chat uh, that has a lot of great brothers all around the world. These are American, Afro Americans. This is Afro Europeans, Afro Caribbeans, as you guys can see from Huey. And you know, there's just so many great brothers that we have in this group, and it's there for us to connect. We can plan, get organized, and you know, have engaging dialogue. So you know, I might have usually may have just mentioned in the chat, you know, hey, let's talk about this. But today I reached out to this brother that's in the chat and I said, hey, let's do a live stream on it. So he graciously came to the live stream. So I definitely appreciate him for that. But yeah, man, I hope you guys get my point for this whole thing, man. At the end of the day, I'm only here being a messenger, only here to promote Black unity, to promote the African diaspora and the FBA community. I think all are very important, but I do also see the importance of separation as well. I do see that for so long we have had, you know, a lot of people claiming things that they shouldn't claim. For instance, we have certain people will come into America and claim that, oh, you know, I'm African American, but that's just not, you know, beneficial because we do have some reports. I actually didn't believe this at first until I investigated, but there is some Africans that are saying they deserve reparations from America as well. and they weren't even born in America. So separation sometimes is important, at least to reach your goal. Then you guys can go and be kumbaya after you get the reparations and that money. But there is the talks. There is talk about reparations currently, inside of America. And if black Americans need this time, guys, to get very organized. Okay. That's very important for black Americans right now. So it might come off like black Americans are trying to say F Africans, or we hate Africans, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Black Americans don't hate Africans. Black Americans are people that have been abandoned by the world, and the time to get reparations is long overdue. And black Americans are looking at this as, you know what? We need to focus on ourselves right now. Long are the days we focus on other countries and trying to invest and do business over there. We need to focus on ourselves right now. We need to unify with ourselves right now so we can get on code and get this money. And by the time, as I always say, that black people in America get these reparations, by that time there will already be groups of black people going to Africa in the groves. Actually, Africa will be begging, in some capacity. This is lovingly, right, guys? I'm talking in a loving way. They're going to start requesting and sending out ships, luxury ships, the opposite of the slave boat, saying, please come back home. We welcome you, because now that you got your reparations and you're at $250,000 or $500,000, man, we can use you inside of our country. We gonna give you free land. We gonna give you free workers, free representation, all that stuff, because you guys done got your money up, and now we will recognize you. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, it needs to go past that too. It needs to go past that. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? It needs to go to a point of, and should I say this on here, or should I say it for the? Let me just say, y'all been here with me, man. Y'all been here with me. But it really needs to be where we start having the right kind of FBA inside of these governments as well. If we are to get the reparations and go back to Africa, that's going to be a whole nother conversation that needs to be had as well. But the reality is, as you guys can see on screen, they are paying back that money in certain types of ways that were never even thought of. You know what I'm saying? A lot of black Americans thought it was over. That reparation stuff, it was a certain point in time, a few years, where it wasn't even spoken about. And everybody thought it was over. But right now we have certain people that are serious, and they not letting down, man. They not letting down. They like, man, that money is ours. We need that money now. This ain't no joke. And we see there's certain people now that are like, man, give us that money. And we see that America is seeing this. As much as they ignore black Americans inside of America, we see that one thing they are seeing is black people being serious at this point in time. I want to say this to black Americans. I'm proud. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of black Americans. At this current state in time, I'm proud of black Americans. Because one thing about black Americans, to be abandoned and to still be pushing through, even with all the issues inside of black America, all the issues that we face, all the problems that we have inside of black America, I am still proud, because I can look at black Americans and say to myself, you know what? These people are still trying. These people are still hustling. The brothers getting up in the morning, going to their trade, going to their blue collar jobs. The sisters, even though there might be certain issues that they say and they do these podcasts on, there is certain black American sisters that is still for the cause, that haven't let the mind bug get inside their brain. They haven't been completely brainwashed. I've seen countries where the sisters in that country, they don't even date, their own race. I've been to countries in Africa that they like, oh, I don't even mess with African guys. I don't date African dudes. Guys, I literally did a whole video on this. It's on my effing Patreon. Look at the title. Look at the screen, guys. Look at the screen. They literally told me in this video on Patreon, patreon.com/traveltriberaw. The link is in the description. They literally told me on this video that they sold their souls to white men for money. Like, I mean, what they literally said this. They literally said this. I think they said they don't even mess with their own guys in their own country. So, even with all the issues inside of Black America, I have to say I'm proud of Black Americans because Black Americans are very resilient people. I look at Black Americans, and this is going to be a horrible example, but you see that roach that got its head stomped on, and they say a roach can live without his head for so long. That's how I look at it. Like the struggle that is in Black America and in the African people, you guys might disagree. You guys might see Black Americans as, spoiled, entitled brats that don't understand their position. And in some capacity, that might even be true. You do have some Black Americans that are here that are lazy and there's a whole bunch of issues. But at the same time, you do have a lot of Black Americans that are hardworking. The reason that you can even come to America at this point in time is because Black people put together that civil rights. Black people put together certain laws in place for you to be able to come over. So there has to be some grace. There has to be some grace on both ends too. Black Americans towards Africans, and Africans towards Black Americans, because in all countries, in every single in all people in every single country has their share of people that are not adding or contributing to society, but then you have a lot of people that are. So it's important to keep that in mind and give grace. Okay, guys? It's important to give grace. But I'm proud of Black Americans because no matter what, resilient, very resilient people, man. Black people around the world, we're actually, if you have melanin, we're just all resilient. Like, even in Africa, like the stuff I've seen, like with African people, you guys will be surprised. Some of them are extremely humble with actually absolutely nothing. And I think to myself, I don't think I could be you. Like, I don't think I can personally be you. I've met rich African people, but I've also met very impoverished African people too. And I said to myself, how are you still pushing through? But it's because we all, as melanated people, are resilient people. We're just resilient. We just, even though you try to stomp on us, we just keep fighting, you know? And one thing I'm proud is that, you have certain people in certain countries that are not just fighting anymore, they're also getting organized. They're planning, they're being logical. They're making calculated decisions because they know the moves that you make today is going to affect your legacy for the tomorrow. So I just want to say, man, you know, if you're a melanated person and you're striving to be the best that you can be, you're pushing yourself, even though the world is trying to, stomp on you. I'm proud of you. You know what I'm saying? Not even just for the Black Americans, man. I'm proud of all y'all. So I already chatted y'all ear off enough, man. Uh, shout out to Burkina Faso. Shout out to Ibrahim Traore. Um, I think we had definitely a good discussion today. And I'm going to conclude on that note as usual. Stay raw, stay real. You already know the deal. And we gone. Holla.